1274. The Mongol Empire ruled more land than any empire in history. From the frozen forests of Siberia to the rich cities of China, every enemy had fallen. Now Kublai Khan looked beyond the sea, a chain of islands that refused to submit. Japan. Diplomats demanded surrender. The Japanese court refused. So the Khan chose another answer: war. Across the Sea of Japan, an invasion fleet unlike anything the medieval world had ever seen began its journey. Thousands of ships, thousands of warriors. Samurai gathered along the coast, knowing they were hopelessly outnumbered. Everything suggested that Japan's fate had already been decided. But as the fleet approached, the sea became strangely restless. The wind began to change. No general noticed, no soldier understood. Yet history was already taking a different course. This is the story of the invasion that nature refused to allow. By the late 13th century, the Mongol Empire had become the greatest military power on Earth. For decades, Mongol armies swept across Asia and Europe with astonishing speed. Kingdom after kingdom collapsed. Cities surrendered without resistance. Those who fought were usually destroyed. Under Kublai Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan, the empire reached new heights. He completed the conquest of China, founded the Yuan dynasty, controlled trade routes stretching across an entire continent. Only one neighboring kingdom remained beyond his authority: Japan. Kublai Khan first attempted diplomacy. Envoys crossed the sea carrying demands that Japan recognize Mongol supremacy. The Japanese court ignored them. More envoys followed. Again, silence. For Kublai Khan, refusal was unacceptable. An empire built on conquest could not allow open defiance. If diplomacy failed, the fleet would speak instead. Shipyards across Korea and China worked without pause. Thousands of vessels were constructed. Weapons filled their cargo holds. Horses were loaded onto transport ships. Food, water, arrows, armor. Everything required for an overseas invasion crossed the docks. Never before had East Asia witnessed an expedition on such a scale. The destination lay only a few hundred kilometers away, but an ocean can become far larger than any map suggests. In the autumn of 1274, the invasion finally began. The Mongol fleet sailed from Korea toward Japan. Warriors from Mongolia, China, and Korea fought side by side. Each fleet carried different languages, different traditions. One objective: reach Japan, conquer it. The voyage itself appeared manageable. The Sea of Japan was relatively narrow. Experienced sailors guided the armada across familiar waters. One by one, nearby islands fell into Mongol hands: Tsushima, Iki. Their defenders fought bravely, but they could not stop the invasion. News spread rapidly across Japan. The Mongols were coming. Panic mixed with determination. The samurai prepared for a battle unlike any they had fought before. Unlike Japan's traditional warfare, the Mongols fought as disciplined formations. They coordinated massed archery, used explosive bombs filled with gunpowder, advanced together instead of relying on individual duels. For many Japanese defenders, this enemy was unlike anything they had imagined. When the invasion fleet finally reached Hakata Bay, Japan stood on the edge of catastrophe. The first battles shocked both sides. The Mongols gained ground, but Japan did not collapse. The samurai continued resisting along the coastline. Night approached. Instead of pressing deeper inland, many Mongol ships remained anchored offshore. The fleet waited, perhaps for better conditions, perhaps for reinforcements, perhaps for new orders. No one knows for certain. Days passed. Thousands of soldiers remained crowded aboard wooden ships. Supplies began to diminish. Fresh water became increasingly valuable. Anchored vessels drifted with the tides. Crews worked constantly to prevent collisions. Above them, the weather slowly began to change. The sky grew heavier. The wind became less predictable. Experienced sailors noticed the shifting sea, but no one could know what was coming. Far beyond the horizon, nature was gathering a force no army could command. The greatest battle of the invasion had not yet begun. As darkness settled over Hakata Bay, the sea became strangely quiet. Then, the wind arrived. Not as a gentle breeze, not as ordinary weather, but as a violent force that no fleet could escape. Powerful gusts slammed into the anchored ships. Anchors dragged across the seabed. Masts snapped. Rigging tore apart. Waves grew higher with every passing hour. Ships collided in the darkness. Wood shattered against wood. Men were thrown into the sea. Panic spread faster than the storm itself. Captains shouted orders that disappeared beneath the roar of the wind. Sailors struggled to raise sails. Others desperately tried to cut anchor lines. Nothing worked. The fleet was no longer fighting Japan. It was fighting the ocean. By morning, hundreds of ships had been wrecked. Others drifted helplessly onto the rocky coastline. Thousands of soldiers drowned beneath the waves. Those who reached shore often found themselves surrounded by Japanese defenders. For the first time in decades, the seemingly unstoppable Mongol Empire had suffered a catastrophic defeat. Not because of a stronger army, but because nature had entered the battlefield. The disaster of 1274 did not end Kublai Khan's ambitions. He believed the invasion had failed because the fleet was too small, so he prepared an even greater expedition. 7 years later, in 1281, an armada unlike anything the medieval world had ever seen gathered once again. According to historical estimates, more than 4,000 ships and well over 100,000 soldiers were assembled from across the Mongol Empire. It was one of the largest naval invasions in history. Japan prepared as well. Stone defensive walls now protected much of Hakata Bay. Samurai waited along the coastline. Weeks passed. The enormous fleet struggled to coordinate its arrival. Many ships remained anchored offshore, while commanders searched for the right moment to attack. Then, history repeated itself. Another massive typhoon swept across the fleet. This storm proved even more destructive than the first. Ships crashed into one another. Others were smashed against the rocky coast. Thousands of soldiers disappeared beneath the waves. Entire sections of the invasion force ceased to exist. The survivors abandoned the campaign. Kublai Khan would never attempt another invasion of Japan. Japanese history remembers these storms by a single name: Kamikaze, the divine wind. To many Japanese, the storms were more than extraordinary weather. They were seen as divine protection, a force that had saved the nation when defeat seemed inevitable. Modern historians explain the events differently. Typhoons are a natural part of the Western Pacific. Anchored wooden fleets, crowded with thousands of soldiers, were especially vulnerable to such storms. Whether viewed through history, science, or legend, the outcome remains the same. The Mongol Empire possessed one of the greatest military machines the world had ever known. It had conquered kingdoms across continents, yet it could not conquer the sea. It could not command the wind. The storms did what no enemy had accomplished. They ended the greatest invasion Japan had ever faced. Kublai Khan planned the campaign. His generals prepared the fleet. His soldiers crossed the sea. But nature decided the ending. The waves erased ships, the wind scattered armies, and the ocean became Japan's greatest fortress. Long before modern technology, long before radar or weather forecasts, one storm changed the course of history. Because sometimes, the strongest nation is not protected by walls, but by the land, the sea, and the forces of nature itself.